Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This is Eisenherz and today I want to go over the importance of timing your win attempts correctly and why having flash is even more important than you'd think. So without further ado, let's have a look at a gameplay scenario I recently found myself in. Player 1 has a Consecrated Sphinx in play, a lot of open mana, 13 cards in hand and 34 life. Player 2 is the active player, has an Orcish Bowmasters on the board and a wheel on the stack in an attempt to kill player 1 with the OBM triggers. Player 3 and player 4 have no relevant board states. Player 2 is the active player and is trying to kill player 1 with Orcish Bowmasters and Windfall before they can go back to their turn and likely win the game. Player 1 lets the Windfall resolve, and player 2 is sure that now they will most likely win the game because of all the OBM triggers that will occur through the wheel and the Con Sphinx. However, what player 2 did not consider is that when the Windfall resolves, triggers for Orcish Bowmasters and Consecrated Sphinx will be put on the stack in APNAP-Order. APNAP meaning active player to non-active player in turn order. This means that the active player's triggers, in this case Orcish Bowmasters, are put on the stack first and therefore will resolve last, so after the triggers for Consecrated Sphinx occur. So after the Windfall resolves, everyone will have discarded their hand and drawn 13 new cards, placing 39 OBM triggers on the stack first, and then 39 Sphinx triggers above them. Now player 1 will draw 2 cards 39 times. Yes, each of those will then trigger OBM twice as well. But with 13 new cards in hand and at 34 life, this gives player 1 enough draws to remove OBM, generate flash somehow, draw even more cards and then very easily win on top of all of those 39 OBM triggers. Since player 2's triggers resolve last, they're in a disadvantageous position. Player 1 accumulates resources and information before player 2 gets their triggers, and they can now react to those triggers very efficiently, making it so much harder, or even impossible, for player 2 to kill player 1. So to fix this, player 2 would have to change when they are presenting their OBM plus Windfall line. If instead of trying to do it on their own turn, they attempt to do it on player 3's turn by enabling flash somehow, the same concept of APNAP-Order for triggers will now work very much in their favor. Now, instead of having their triggers be put on the stack first and resolve last, player 2's triggers will be put on the stack last and resolve first, allowing them to ping player 1 to death before they get access to their Sphinx triggers. Now, by simply timing their plays correctly, the same line will be game ending for player 1 and most likely game winning for player 2. Easy, right? If the person behind you is the active player, you are last in turn order for triggers, allowing you to get access to your triggers, be it damage, mana or card draw, before your opponents do, which in turn allows you to make your decisions more efficiently and based on more information and or more resources than your opponents. So now that we know how much a difference it can make in which order triggers resolve, let's have a look at another gameplay scenario. Player 1 is the active player, they control Heuristic Study and Birgi and have only 4 life left. Player 2 controls Heuristic Study, player 3 controls Orcish Bowmasters, and player 4 controls Marneos and Smothering Tithe. Player 1 is the active player and trying to win their game on their turn. To do so, they cast Thassa's Oracle. This triggers their Birgi and player 2's Heuristic Study. Due to APNAP-Order, player 2's Heuristic Study trigger will resolve first, allowing them to draw a card. This will then trigger both Orcish Bowmasters and Smothering Tithe. Due to APNAP-Order, Smothering Tithe will resolve, creating a treasure token. This will then trigger Marneos Kalgar, allowing player 4 to draw a card, which will then trigger player 3's Orcish Bowmasters. The topmost OBM trigger resolves, and player 3 can deal 1 damage to player 1's face. Now the next OBM trigger resolves, dealing another damage to player 1's face. So by casting Thassa's Oracle on their turn, player 1 allowed player 4 to draw 1 card and get 1 treasure, player 3 to deal 2 damage to their face, and player 2 to also draw a card. Finally, player 1 might now get 1 red mana through their Birgi, but in response, player 4 casts the random instant they just drew by cracking the treasure they just created, which will trigger player 1's study and player 2's study. Player 2 will draw first due to APNAP-Order, creating a trigger for player 3's OBM and player 4's Smothering Tithe. Player 4 will get another treasure and draw another card through Marneos, creating another trigger for player 3's OBM. Now the topmost OBM trigger resolves, dealing 1 damage to player 1's face, then the next OBM trigger resolves, dealing another damage to their face, killing player 1 with the Oracle, Birgi trigger and draw trigger still on the stack. This is obviously very bad for player 1, because with their spell and Birgi trigger on the stack, player 4 drew 2 cards and got 2 treasures, player 3 dealt at least 4 damage to player 1's face, and player 2 was able to draw 2 cards as well. If, however, instead of pushing for the win on their turn, player 1 times their win attempt better by generating flash somehow and going for the win on player 2's turn, they can present a game-winning line much more safely. If player 2 is the active player and player 1 casts their Oracle on player 2's turn, Due to APNAP-Order, the Birgi trigger will be the topmost trigger, and player 2's Rhystic Study trigger will be below that. Now, using the mana created by Birgi, player 1 can pay for player 2's Rhystic Study trigger, denying them the card draw that will trigger both player 4's Smothering Tithe and player 3's Orcish Bowmasters, which would eventually kill player 1 with their win attempt still on the stack. Doing it this way, player 1 can safely perform their game-winning line, pay for the Rhystic triggers and deny any further triggers. GG at instant speed. So again, correct timing and utilization of the APNAP trigger order proves how important it is to be able to present wins at instant speed. Not just because you can win on top of interaction, but because you can make your gameplay decisions based on more information and/or resources than your opponents, which will allow you to win games that otherwise would be unwinnable. And that's it. I hope you learned something about the importance of flash speed and trigger order today. If so, please leave a comment down below, like and share the video, and of course, subscribe to my channel for more S-tier cEDH content in the future. This is Eisenherz, thank you for watching my videos and auf Wiedersehen.